Ambassador Ares Thorne stood in the center of the council chamber. Her hands were folded behind her back. Her face showed nothing. Around her, the room was a circle of power. The Xylos sat in their tall white chairs, their long fingers steepled. The Drakens stood near the walls, their scaled arms crossed over their broad chests. The Syntheri floated in their gravity fields, their metal bodies reflecting the cold light. They had all come to watch Earth kneel. Ambassador Velkor of the Xylos spoke first. His voice was soft, like wind over smooth stone. He was old, even for his kind. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species beg for mercy. He expected the same from the human. The Galactic Council has observed your species with patience, Velkor said. Your expansion has been aggressive. Too fast. Too uncontrolled. You plant colonies on worlds we had reserved for future development. Your military vessels patrol systems that do not belong to you. He paused. He wanted the words to settle. Therefore, the Council demands the following, he continued. All human colonies beyond the Sol system will be surrendered to Council administration. Your military fleet will be dismantled under our supervision. Your weapons technology will be shared with our researchers. And your expansion will stop. He let the silence grow. You have 30 standard days to accept these terms. The Draken general by the door made a low sound in his throat. It was almost a laugh. He looked at Thorne like a hunter looks at wounded prey. A Syntheri representative floated forward. Its voice was flat, without emotion. We have calculated your chances in a conflict. They are below 3%. Compliance is the logical path. Thorne did not move. Velkor leaned forward slightly. He had expected outrage. He had expected pleas. He had expected the human to demand more time, to request negotiations, to try to bargain. That was how these things worked. The Council gave an ultimatum. The weaker species argued. The Council pretended to listen. In the end, the weaker species accepted. That was the order of things. But Ares Thorne simply looked at each of them in turn. Her eyes moved slowly from the Xylos to the Draken to the Syntheri. She did not blink. She did not raise her voice. Ambassador, Velkor said, do you understand the terms? I understand, she said. Her voice was calm. It was quiet. It carried no fear. The Draken general narrowed his yellow eyes. Something in her stillness bothered him. He had seen warriors before battle. He had seen prey before death. This woman was neither. Velkor pressed forward. Then you will need time to communicate with your government. We can allow. No, Thorne said. The room went silent. She turned her head slightly toward the Draken general. Then she looked back at Velkor. She straightened her shoulders. No, she repeated. I do not need time. Velkor blinked. His long fingers tapped together. You accept the terms immediately. The Syntheri representative tilted its metal head. That is unexpected, but efficient. Thorne did not answer. She did not nod. She did not agree. She simply stood there for a long moment, letting the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then she did something none of them expected. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knows something you do not. It was the smile of a door closing. Ambassador, Velkor said, confusion creeping into his voice. You must respond. Do you accept the Council's demands? Thorne took a slow breath. She looked at the Syntheri. She looked at the Draken. She looked at Velkor. I have heard your demands, she said. I have noted them. She turned her back to the Council. The Draken general stepped forward, his hand moving toward his weapon. No one turned their back on the Council. No one had ever done that. His scales flushed dark with anger. You will not leave without answering, he growled. Thorne stopped. She did not turn around. She spoke over her shoulder, her voice still calm, still quiet. I have answered. She walked toward the chamber doors. Her footsteps were steady. Her pace did not change. Velkor rose from his chair. His calm facade cracked. Ambassador Thorne, you have 30 days. If you do not respond by then, the Council will consider your silence a rejection. There will be consequences. Thorne reached the doors. She paused for just a moment. 30 days, she said softly. Then she walked through. The doors closed behind her. The Council chamber erupted. The Draken shouted demands for immediate action. The Syntheri ran calculations, trying to predict what had just happened. The Xylos tried to restore order. Velkor sat back down slowly. He looked at the empty space where the human had stood. She accepted, he said, more to himself than to anyone else. She had to. They have no fleet that can match us. They have no allies. They have nothing. The Draken general slammed his fist against the wall. She accepted nothing. She walked away. A warrior does not walk away from a challenge unless she is going for her weapon. Velkor waved a hand. You are being dramatic. The humans are emotional, yes, but they are not stupid. They will see reason. The Syntherai representative floated closer. We are analyzing the human ambassador's physiological data from the transmission. Her heart rate did not increase. Her breathing remained steady. Her pupils did not dilate. So? Velkor asked. So, the Syntherai said, those are not the signs of a being who is afraid, or accepting defeat. Those are the signs of a being who has already made a decision. Velkor looked at the doors again. A cold feeling crept into his old bones. What decision? He asked. The Syntherai did not answer. It did not have to. Back on her ship, Ambassador Ares Thorn sat in her private quarters. She opened a secure channel to Earth. The screen glowed to life. She spoke 3 words. Execute Protocol 7. Then she closed the channel and waited. She knew what would come next. The Council thought they had given her an ultimatum. They thought they had 30 days. They did not understand. Humanity did not wait for wars to start. Humanity ended them before they could begin. And somewhere, far away, hidden in the darkness between stars, humanity's first weapon was already moving. The first sign of trouble came 6 hours after Ambassador Thorn walked out of the Council chamber. Tactical Officer Kale of the Draken stood at his station on the bridge of the Vengeful Ward star. His scales were relaxed. His mind was calm. The human woman had been strange, yes, but what could she do? The Council had the largest fleet in the galaxy. The humans had nothing. His sensor screen flickered. He frowned. A small energy reading appeared at the edge of the system. It was faint. Almost nothing. Probably a dying star or a comet breaking apart. He was about to dismiss it when the reading changed. It grew. It grew fast. Commander, Kale said, his voice steady, I have an anomaly. Energy spike in Sector 7. The Draken commander walked over. His yellow eyes studied the screen. Source. Unknown, Kale said. It is not a ship. Not a station. The energy signature does not match anything in our database. The commander's jaw tightened. Get me a visual. Kale worked his controls. The main view screen flickered to life. It showed empty space. Dark. Silent. Nothing moved. Then something did. A streak of light appeared. It was small at first. A pinprick in the darkness. But it grew larger with every second. It moved too fast for a ship. Too fast for any missile Kale had ever seen. What is that? The commander asked. Kale did not answer. His hands moved across his station, trying to track the object. But it was too fast. His sensors could not lock onto it. The thing was moving at a speed that should not be possible. Impact in 3 seconds, Kale said. The commander shouted orders. Defensive screens went up. The ship's shields glowed to life. But it was too late. The object struck. There was no explosion. No fire. It was just a rod of solid metal, no bigger than a ground vehicle, accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light by something hidden in the asteroid belt. It hit the Vengeful Ward S primary propulsion array with a sound that shook the entire ship. The impact was surgical. Precise. The rod punched through shields like they were paper. It tore through armor like it was cloth. It destroyed the propulsion array completely and then kept going, disappearing into space on the other side. The ship lurched. Lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Kale was thrown from his station. He hit the deck hard. His vision blurred. When he looked up, the bridge was chaos. Officers shouted over each other. Smoke filled the air. The main view screen was dark. Propulsion is gone, someone shouted. We have no power to the main engines. Shields are down. Structural damage across decks 7 through 12. Casualties reported in the lower sections. The Draken commander pulled himself back to his feet. Blood ran from a cut on his head. He looked at Kale. Report. Kale crawled back to his station. His hands shook as he worked. Propulsion array destroyed. We are dead in space. No maneuverability. No FTL capability. The commander's face went pale. Communication. Get me communication with the fleet. Kale tried. His fingers moved across the controls. But nothing happened. Communications are jammed, he said. His voice cracked. Some kind of. I do not recognize this signal. It is overriding all our channels. The Syntherai, the commander said. Get their engineers up here. Now. But even as he spoke, the Syntherai officers on board were already working. Their metal fingers moved faster than any Draken could. They ran diagnostic after diagnostic. They tried every countercode in their database. Nothing worked. The human signal was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was not complex in the way Syntherai encryption was complex. It was something else. It was chaos made into code. It changed faster than they could track. Every time they thought they had a solution, the signal shifted. For the first time in their existence, the Syntherai met something their minds could not solve. On the bridge, the main view screen flickered back to life. But it was not a view of space. It was text. White letters on a black background. A single message. Everyone on the bridge read it. Asterisk, you threatened our home. We do not negotiate with those who point guns at our children. This is your only warning. Asterisk. Silence fell over the bridge. No one spoke. No one moved. The Draken commander stared at the words. His hands were fists at his sides. His pride screamed at him to be angry, to call for revenge, to order his warriors to fight. But there was nothing to fight. The enemy was not there. The weapon that had crippled the most powerful ship in the galaxy had come from nowhere. It had struck without warning, without declaration, without any of the rules the Council had followed for thousands of years. The humans had not waited for war. They had already started it. Kale looked at the commander. What do we do? The commander did not answer. He just kept staring at the screen. Somewhere far away, in the darkness between stars, the weapon platforms hidden in the asteroid belt were already reloading. And across the galaxy, other platforms were waking up. Humanity had spent years building them. Quietly, patiently, waiting for the day someone would threaten their home. The Council had given them an ultimatum. Humanity had given them a warning. The next one would not be a warning. The news spread faster than light. Within hours, every Council world knew what had happened. The asterisk vengeful ward asterisk, the pride of the galactic fleet, sat crippled and silent. Its propulsion array was gone. Its communications were dead. And a single message from humanity echoed across every channel. Panic swept through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Markets collapsed. Citizens filled the streets demanding answers. Governments sent urgent messages to the Council, asking the same question again and again. Asterisk, what did you do? Asterisk. On the Council's home world, the three ruling species gathered in an emergency session. But there was no unity. There was only fear and anger and confusion. The Draken were the first to speak. Their general, a massive warrior named Thrax, slammed his fist against the central table. His scales burned bright red with fury. We attack, he growled. Now. Tonight. We gather every ship in the fleet and we burn their worlds to ash. They struck first. They broke every law. We give them no second chance. Other Draken officers shouted their agreement. Their hands moved to their weapons. Their bodies tensed for battle. The Syntherai representative floated forward. Its metal body was still, but its voice carried something new. Something the galaxy had never heard from a Syntherai before. Fear. We cannot attack, it said. We do not understand what we are facing. Thrax turned on the Syntherai. His eyes narrowed. Coward. The humans are nothing. One lucky shot does not make them warriors. It was not luck, the Syntherai said. The room went quiet. The Syntherai continued. We have analyzed the attack. The weapon that struck the asterisk vengeful ward asterisk was hidden in an asteroid belt. It was placed there years ago. Maybe longer. It was waiting. They were waiting. Thrax's fury did not fade, but something else crept into his eyes. Doubt. The Xylos ambassador, Velkor, sat in his chair. He had not moved since the news arrived. His long fingers were pressed together. His face was pale. How? He whispered. How did they build such a thing without us knowing? The Syntherai turned to him. They built it slowly, quietly. They used civilian ships to move the pieces. They disguised the work as mining operations, as scientific research, as everything except what it was. Velkor closed his eyes. A defense grid, hidden in plain sight. Not just a defense grid, the Syntherai said. We found others. Relay stations, communication towers, weapons platforms, all dormant, all waiting. They built this network across their entire territory. They started the work the day they first met us. The room fell into silence. Thrax's fists unclenched. He looked at the Syntherai. Why did we not know? Because we did not look, the Syntheri said. We saw a young species. Loud. Disorganized. Emotional. We did not think they could be patient. We were wrong. Far from the council chamber, in a small research station on a moon at the edge of the system, a young Syntheri analyst worked alone. Her designation was Researcher 7. She had been given a simple task: find military data. Find battle plans. Find anything that would help the council understand the human attack. She found none of those things. Instead, she found history. She dug through human cultural databases. She read their stories, their records, their memories. She read about a city called Stalingrad, where humans burned their own homes rather than let an enemy take them. She read about soldiers who threw themselves on explosive devices to save the ones beside them. She read about a species that, when pushed into a corner, did not surrender. It escalated. She read about a war called World War II. She read about a weapon called the atomic bomb. She read about what humans did to an enemy that would not stop fighting. Her metal fingers trembled as she read. Then she found something worse. She found their stories of survival. The tales they told their children. The heroes they celebrated. They were not the stories of diplomats or traders. They were stories of people who fought when fighting was hopeless. People who died standing. People who chose destruction over submission. Researcher 7 sat in the DAC and processed what she had learned. Her mind, faster than any organic brain, ran calculation after calculation. Every result was the same. She opened a secure channel to the Syntheri Council. Her voice, usually flat and emotionless, carried weight. I have completed my analysis, she said. Report, the council replied. She paused. For a Syntheri, a pause was almost impossible. It meant her logic pathways had found something they could not easily process. We have made a catastrophic error in our assessment of the human species, she said. Explain. Researcher 7 chose her words carefully. They are not reckless. They are not disorganized. They are patient. More patient than we are. They have been preparing for this moment since before we knew they existed. And their military capabilities. That is not the danger, Researcher 7 said. The danger is what they become when threatened. I have studied their history. When humans face extinction, they do not negotiate. They do not surrender. They escalate. She sent her data to the council. Every story. Every record. Every calculation. We believed we were dealing with a lesser species, she said. We were wrong. They are not lesser. They are different. And their definition of proportional response is not the same as ours. The council did not respond. Researcher 7 closed the channel and stared at the DAC screen. Somewhere out there, humanity was waiting. And for the first time in her existence, she did not know what would happen next. The council moved quickly. They had to. The galaxy was watching. Admiral Zarin of the Draken commanded the largest fleet ever assembled in 1,000 years. 300 warships. Battle cruisers. Destroyers. Carriers loaded with fighters. The ships filled the space around the human colony world of New Harmony like a wall of steel and fire. Zarin stood on the bridge of his flagship. His scales were dark with purpose. He did not want this war. But the humans had struck first. They had crippled the asterisk vengeful Ward Star. They had humiliated the council. Honor demanded a response. He gave the colony 1 hour. His message went out on all channels. Every human world heard it. Every council world heard it. The galaxy held its breath. This is Admiral Zarin of the Draken Fleet, he said. His voice was hard. The human species has committed an act of war against the Galactic Council. Your colony of New Harmony will be destroyed unless Earth surrenders unconditionally within 1 standard hour. This is your final warning. He cut the channel and waited. On the planet below, millions of humans looked up at the sky. They saw the fleet. They saw their deaths hanging in the darkness. Some prayed. Some cried. Some held their children close. But none of them ran. The hour passed. No message came from Earth. Zarin's jaw tightened. He raised his hand to give the order. His honor demanded it. His duty demanded it. The humans had made their choice. Then his sensor officer shouted, Admiral, multiple contacts. Jump signatures everywhere. They are coming from all directions. Zarin turned to the main view screen. His eyes widened. Ships were appearing out of the darkness. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. They were not warships. They were mining vessels with metal hulls scarred from years of work. They were cargo haulers with containers still attached to their frames. They were colony transports designed to carry families, not soldiers. They were private yachts, old shuttles, research vessels, and things that barely looked like ships at all. They had guns strapped to their hulls. Some had armor plates welded on unevenly. Some had no armor at all. Just a hull and a weapon and a human pilot who had decided to come. The ships kept coming. They formed a line between the Council fleet and the planet. It was not a military formation. It was a wall. A wall of rusted metal and desperate hope. Zarin stared at the screen. His hand dropped to his side. "What is this?" he whispered. His communication officer turned to him. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. It is not from Earth's military. It is coming from one of the civilian ships." "Put it through." The screen changed. A human face appeared. He was a man middle-aged, with gray in his hair and lines on his face. He wore a simple jacket with a freighter company patch on the sleeve. Behind him, the bridge was crowded with other humans. None of them wore uniforms. They looked like workers, like miners and mechanics and farmers. The man's hands were shaking slightly, but his voice was steady. "This is Elias Vance, captain of the freighter Hope's Light Star." He took a breath. "I want to make something clear. Earth did not send us. The military did not order us here. We got a message. An automated message that went out to every human ship in the sector. It said the Council had threatened a human world. It said to defend." He looked at the camera. His eyes were tired, but they did not look away. "So here we are." Zarin stepped forward. "You are civilians. This is not your fight. Stand down and you will not be harmed." Elias Vance almost smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was there. "Admiral, do you know what a human does when someone threatens their family?" Zarin did not answer. "We show up," Vance said. "We do not wait for orders. We do not ask if we have the best ship or the biggest gun. We just show up, and we stand in the way." He gestured behind him. The camera panned across the bridge. Humans of all ages stood there, young and old, men and women. Some were crying. Some were laughing. All of them were standing. "There are 10,000 ships behind me," Vance said. 10,000 captains who got the same message. 10,000 humans who decided that this colony, this world full of people they have never met, is worth dying for. He looked into the camera one more time. "So go ahead, Admiral. Give the order. But know this. You will not just be killing soldiers. You will be killing miners and farmers and mechanics. You will be killing parents and children. And every human in the galaxy will remember." The transmission ended. Zarin stood in silence. His hand was at his side. He looked at the wall of ships before him. He looked at the rusted hulls and the jury-rigged guns. He looked at the people who had come to die for a world they had never seen. His honor screamed at him to attack. The Council demanded it. The Draken Code demanded it. The humans had struck first. They had broken the rules. They had to be punished. But his eyes kept going back to the screen, to the face of Elias Vance, to the people behind him, to the 10,000 ships full of people who had chosen to stand in the way. He looked at his tactical officer. "What is the status of the Syntheri fleet?" "They are holding position, Admiral. They have not moved to attack." "They are waiting," Zarin said quietly. "They know what I know." He turned to the view screen one more time. The human ships hung there in the darkness. They were nothing compared to his fleet. He could destroy them all in minutes. He had the firepower. He had the authority. He had the reason. But he could not give the order. His honor would not let him kill civilians who stood unarmed before him. The Draken Code was clear. Warriors fought warriors. They did not slaughter the helpless. And these humans, with their rusted ships and their shaking hands, were not warriors. They were something else. Something the Council had never faced before. Zarin lowered his hand. "Hold fire," he said. The bridge went silent. His officers stared at him. Some looked confused. Some looked relieved. His second-in-command stepped forward. "Admiral, the Council will demand." "The Council is not here," Zarin said. "I am. And I will not order the slaughter of civilians. We wait." He sat down in his command chair. His scales had gone pale. Not from fear. From understanding. The humans had not come to fight. They had come to stand. And in standing, they had done something no enemy fleet had ever done. They had made honor a weapon. And Zarin did not know how to fight that. Weeks passed. The fleet that had come to destroy New Harmony did not fire a single shot. The humans who had come to defend it did not either. They just waited. 10,000 ships full of ordinary people, floating in the dark, refusing to move. The galaxy watched. And the galaxy understood. Negotiations began slowly. The Council sent messages. Earth sent messages back. There were no threats this time. No ultimatums. Just words. The treaty was signed in the same chamber where Ambassador Ares Thorne had once stood alone. But everything was different now. The Xylos did not sit in judgment. The Draken did not stand ready to strike. The Syntheri did not run their calculations. They all Saturday. They all listened. Ares Thorne entered the room the same way she had before. Her hands were behind her back. Her face showed nothing. But this time, no one looked at her with pity or arrogance. They looked at her with something new. Respect. She walked to the center of the chamber and stopped. She looked at each species in turn. The Xylos. The Draken. The Syntheri. Then she spoke. The treaty is signed, she said. Humanity accepts the terms. Our colonies remain ours. Our fleet remains ours. Our territory remains ours. And the Council will never again demand our surrender. She paused. But you already knew that. That is not why I am here. Velcor of the Xylos leaned forward. His voice was quiet. Then why have you come, Ambassador? Thorne looked at him. To explain. You asked for our military doctrine weeks ago. You wanted to know how we built the weapon that crippled your ship. You wanted to know how we built the defense grid. You wanted to know our strategy. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small data chip. She held it up for everyone to see. This is our military doctrine. It is called the Porcupine Protocol. It contains every detail, every weapon system, every defense grid, every contingency plan. You can have it. The Syntheri representative tilted its head. You are giving us your military secrets. Why? Thorne placed the chip on the central table. Because they are not the secret. The weapon that struck your ship was a kinetic rod. Simple technology. You could build one tomorrow. The defense grid was just rocks and metal and patience. Nothing you could not have built yourselves. She looked at each of them again. The weapon was never the weapon. The room was silent. Velcor frowned. Then what was? Thorne turned to the Draken Admiral, Zarin, who stood at the back of the room. He had come to the negotiations personally. He said it was for honor, but everyone knew he came to see the humans who had made him stop. Admiral, Thorne said, you faced 10,000 civilian ships at New Harmony. You could have destroyed them in minutes. Why didn't you? Zarin's jaw tightened. My honor would not allow it. They were non-combatants. It would have been slaughter. Thorne nodded. That is what we counted on. Zarin's eyes widened. You counted on my honor. We counted on all of it, Thorne said. We counted on your honor, Admiral. We counted on the Syntheri's fear of what the galaxy would think. We counted on the Xylos' inability to act without consensus. We studied you. For years, we studied you. We knew you would not fire on civilians. We knew your fleets were built to fight other fleets, not to slaughter the defenseless. We knew your rules, your codes, your laws. She let the words settle. So when you threatened our colony, we did not send warships. We sent our families, our workers, our ordinary people. We sent the one thing your honor would not let you destroy. Zarin's scales went pale. You used your own people as shields. We used our willingness to die for each other, Thorne said. That is the Porcupine Protocol. The kinetic strike was a demonstration. It told you we could hurt you. But the response at New Harmony told you something else. It told you that hurting us would cost you everything. Not because of our weapons. Because of who we are. She walked to the center of the room and turned to face all of them. You came to us with laws and fleets. You thought you understood power. You thought power was ships and weapons and territory. You were wrong. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were steady. You threatened one of ours. And we showed you the only law we truly follow. We do not start wars. But we will finish them with everything we have. Every human. Every ship. Every life. We will spend every last one of us before we let you take what is ours. She looked at Zarin. She looked at Velcor. She looked at the Syntheri. You now know the difference between a species that fights for territory and a species that fights for its family. We are the latter. Let that be the foundation of our new peace. She picked up the data chip from the table and held it out one last time. This is our doctrine. Take it. Study it. You will find nothing in it that can defeat us. Because the Porcupine Protocol is not about weapons. It is about us. It is about the simple fact that you cannot threaten us into submission. You can only make us more dangerous. She placed the chip back on the table and stepped away. The treaty is signed. The peace is made. Remember this moment. Remember why you did not fire. Remember the 10,000 ships full of ordinary people who came to die for a world they had never seen. That is humanity. That is what you faced. And that is why you will never face it again. She turned and walked toward the doors. Just like she had weeks ago. But this time, no one shouted. No one demanded answers. No one threatened consequences. The doors closed behind her. Velkor looked at the chip on the table. He looked at Zarin. He looked at the Syntheri. None of them moved. Finally, Zarin spoke. His voice was low. She is right. We were not defeated by a weapon. We were defeated by a people who would not break. The Syntheri representative picked up the chip. Its metal fingers held it carefully. The Porcupine Protocol, it said quietly. They named their doctrine after a small, defenseless creature that cannot be attacked without being hurt in return. Velkor closed his eyes. They did not defeat us with strength. They defeated us with something we forgot. What? Zarin asked. Courage, Velkor said. The courage to stand when standing is hopeless. The courage to die for strangers. We had laws and fleets. They had that. The chamber fell silent. Outside, the stars were bright. And somewhere in the darkness, a fleet of rusted ships was taking 10,000 ordinary humans back home.